Welcome to another episode of Presentation Hell, broadcasting from Tampa, Florida at Embar Collective. I am your host today, Alexanndra Ontra, and with us we have Rachel Hassett, who is Head of Marketing Communications, strategic supporting marketing initiatives for a range of finance and wealth management companies, including E-Trade and Nomura. And she is here today to talk to us about marketing and communications in finance, as well as managing a presentation library to help support the brokers and dealers and what have you in that realm. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for joining us today. We're happy to have you. Just to get started, why don't you give us a little bit of your background, how you got into financial marketing to begin with?
Good morning, Alex. Thanks so much for having me on this morning. I'm so excited to be here. Yeah, that's such a funny question. I never intended to end up in finance. I was chasing the Oprah Winfrey broadcast journalism dream. And so, core to my career, I've always been a storyteller. And, that experience really, I really built that out when I was in college. I was studying broadcast journalism. I wrote for my college newspaper. I worked on our little college radio station and our TV station. And what I loved most was building stories and providing news to students at Seton Hall University and ensuring that, that they had access to the information they needed on campus. And when I started thinking about my career, I started writing for a hyper local newspaper, and I was writing stories on feral cats and boards of trustees and stuff like that. And I was making $26 an hour. I was like, how am I going to sustain myself on this? I had to really rethink what I was going to do because, core to my being, storytelling was just something that I love. And so when I thought about my career, I started kind of broadening my search and thinking about how I could leverage storytelling. And I fell into a very unique internship opportunity at an insurance company, and I was working within their corporate communications program department, and I was supporting them from soup to nuts, everything when you think of event planning, strategic marketing, and corporate communications, public relations, events. And storytelling became something that I learned wasn't just tried and true on the journalism beat. It was something that you could implement at a firm, and just kind of understanding what that looked like. And so when I left that role, it really opened my eyes to looking beyond journalism in a traditional sense, but thinking about how I could support a company's mission, vision, and values. And so when I left there and was getting ready to approach my graduation date, I started really studying what opportunities would be open to me in finance. I was working up in New York at the time. Finance was just something that was readily available to me. I never really thought I would fall into finance. I thought I would be, again, Oprah Winfrey, but but that's a hard path to follow, right? So needed to become a little bit more grounded. And so my first role out of school was working for an investment banking, a global investment banking firm. And I worked in a communications generalist function there, again, doing something very similar to what I was doing in my internship. And part of it was creating stories for their intranet, working on integrated marketing initiatives, and again, wearing that storytelling hat. And that's where presentation management came in, and really where I started building more content and understanding the importance of how storytelling plays a key role. But what is the vehicle that you're using to bring stories to your audiences? And that particular hat, I've worn that throughout my entire career, even when I went over to E-Trade, and now where I am at my current firm, working in for a smaller wealth management firm outside of Pennsylvania.
It's interesting that you brought up telling the story because, we believe at Presentation Hell that presentations business is all about stories, and the person who tells the best story wins in the end. In finance, it's especially difficult because there is, I mean, you're presenting numbers most of the time, and then on top of that, you have all this disclosure and regulatory information that you are required to present. It's all the legalese. So it's very hard to create a story. And then the final piece is you're one company to another. So it's very much a B2B play. And the instinct, the default is that everybody talks in lingo, in marketing speak, in finance terms, and it can get very, very dry. But at the end of the day, the person on the other side of the table still has to act. And emotion is what makes people act. The facts and figures, well, that gives them support. So when somebody asks them why they did something, they can be like, because of these numbers here, we have a 50% growth rate year over year, or whatever it is. So how do you bring storytelling into that kind of dry subject matter? I mean, let's face it, feral cats are much more interesting than financial figures and, quarterly growth rates and all that other stuff and index fund returns and charts and graphs, but that doesn't pay the bills.
That's right, Alex. Feral cats are much more interesting than performance data. However, it all boils down to just understanding your audience and what their needs are and why they're coming to you to provide a solution and how you can provide the best solution. And so when we think about that, we can think about who we want as our clients and who we are best equipped to support. And that comes with figuring out the personas that we are best equipped to solve their problems. And that's where the storytelling element always comes in, is when you boil down those audiences and what they look like, and who you're trying to support. And so that is as much true as it is in journalism as it is in marketing. When you're writing for a hyper-local newspaper, you're thinking about how you're going to tell the story in a way that is going to best resonate with your community so that they have the best available information to them and get them to act. And then you're implementing that same strategy in marketing and boiling down who you are able to solve their problems and how you can get them to action and come to you and think about the client journey.
I'm curious, what are some of the personas you were able, because you did work for E-Trade and Nomura and some big finance firms. So just could you give us some insight, like what are some of the different personas that you guys created or depicted? I think depicted is a better word there.
E-Trade is so different from the wealth management firm. It's definitely much more of a cutting edge technology, progressive brand. The tagline was investing for everyone. And when you think about that, you could really boil the ocean, but it is accessible investing for everyone made simple. And so people who are on the E-Trade platform, some of them are very sophisticated day traders. Some of them are grandparents who are just trying to protect their retirement. Some of them are 20-year-olds who are new to investing and are just trying to start building wealth. And so when you think about that, you think about making an intuitive platform that is able to meet all of those needs, and thinking about how you can support their journey as they continue to become more and more advanced in using the E-Trade platform and becoming more interested in investing, but how you can also protect them and also support their needs and provide them with the solutions that they're seeking, whether that's retirement, whether it's day trading, whether it's just overall preserving wealth.
Your personas, are basic segments, target segments, audience segments.
Yes.
And did
Yes.
you have a different message for each one of them?
Of course.
Advertised in different places and different pitches and to appeal to them, even though it's the same E-Trade platform.
Right. Right. I mean, I really look up to E-Trade's CMO, Alice Milligan. She's phenomenal at what she does, and it was a pleasure really getting to see her leadership at play. E-Trade's marketing strategy was just so diverse and did everything from Super Bowl ads to targeted LinkedIn ads to different event strategies in different cities and doing more financial literacy education. Is a very, very well-rounded strategy that really led to that tagline of investing for everyone.
Right. And E-Trade is a business to consumer product at that
That's right.
level. And what you're doing now, working for a wealth management, is, I mean, it's still business to consumer, but it's your clients are, obviously high wealth individuals. Sometimes they're funds, so it has more of a business to business play to it. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I would say so. Definitely more focused, more sophisticated, and it's boiled down more to private clients and institutions.
This episode of Presentation Hell is brought to you by Shufflrr. Shufflrr is presentation management for the enterprise. Tell us a little bit about the impetus for creating a structured story for your team at this wealth management company, and how you set it up, how you organize. But what initially, like, when did the light bulb go off? You're like, we need to do something better to help our team tell their story.
Yeah, Alex, that's a great question. I would say so. Prior to me joining my firm, there was no marketing professional in the seat. So this was really a brand new role, and so coming in, it was a learning experience for me to just understand how the teams were working. My firm is very much so a traditional wealth management firm, and so we're structured with three core divisions. We think about research, operations, sales, and client service. Those are key to the function of our firm. And so when I was looking through our presentation management, we were very antiquated with how we were running it. I mean, we had 100, 200 slides that were kind of in one core presentation master deck. And they weren't structured in a way that really aligned with how they were being used. And so it was it wasn't a very good experience for our sales enablement team to really go in there and be able to pull what they needed. And so Shufflrr provided a very, very straightforward solution that really improved efficiency with our team. It really revolutionized how we used our decks and how we were able to put together pitch decks, presentations, etc. for our clients. We were able to work with the Shufflrr team to really build out a customized solution that worked for us. And that has truly been game changing. I mean, we're able to go in from anywhere and pull together a customized deck that meets our clients' needs. Our team, like sales and service, is really core function. Like, we want to provide exceptional service for our clients, and so we really, really bank on being able to put together presentations that meet their needs. And it was very challenging to do that with the old way that we were doing.
Well, you had those. You said you had like these big master decks that were over like 100 slides. We call those monster decks because they're just huge and they become unwieldy, and then they just get messy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was truly, it would crash your computer.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and rethinking how those were structured was really, really helpful, and has enabled us to really be able to find what we need, have it organized in a way that makes more sense to what our audiences need. And it's ultimately improved my experience as a presentation manager, but it's also improved our workflow on the compliance side, and it's improved the experience of our sales and service folks in order to get them what they need.
The compliance piece in finances is really critical, because there are disclosure statements, and information that you have to present with a particular chart or graph or earnings or financial results or any of that. Otherwise, the SEC is going to be on your case that you're required to do that. And putting the library together helped you manage for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So certain disclosures are core to our presentations. They are an essential piece, and they certainly are an imperative piece to any of our presentations. And with when you're showing any sort of performance, it's important that you have the right disclosure tied to specific slides. And so that was a challenge with our group in that they needed to understand which disclosures were married to which slides when they were manually pulling together materials. And in Shufflrr, we were able to find a solution that enabled us to link particular disclosures to the slides that they're required to be attached to. And we've also been able to build out a customized workflow with our compliance team so that we would have much more of a collaborative effort in how we roll out decks to our sales and service teams. And so the collaborative piece to this, and also just alleviating the sales and service worry of, am I pulling the right disclosure? Is it where it needs to be? Like, all of those worries have really been alleviated and really removed from the process.
And then the last question, the last piece of it then is implementation, because in a traditional wealth management firm, there's a lot of paper pushing, and it's a lot of it is about the manager's relationship with the client, and so they tend to be, and maybe this is a stereotype, but they tend to be less tech oriented and more hand holding oriented. So how did you get them to embrace a digital slide library and start with their meetings there as opposed to what they've been previously doing?
The Shufflrr team has been instrumental in that, was really instrumental in that process. But part of it was making sure that they knew that it was going to make their lives easier, right?
Right.
Because when
Know
you
your
run,
audience.
right, know
Right.
your
At
audience,
the beginning, know your audience.
right? If they know that they can go in on a web-based platform and pull what they need, they're going to be more likely to do that than go into a file that's going to crash their computer, right? And so the Shufflrr team helped me build out a training program and a comms plan to roll out to our teams so that we were able to ensure that everyone got the training that they needed to start using Shufflrr right away. The process was super seamless. It took us probably less than 2 weeks to really get everybody comfortable with using it. And, now we have a really high adoption rate.
So what do you think, in the future? What do you think's next in, say, marketing technology for finance?
I don't know, when you think about social media and like what keeps you up late at night, like, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram Reels, I'm watching videos, I'm not looking at pictures anymore. And so when I think about that, I think about how AI has really, really amped up the accessibility to video. And I think that softwares like Lumen 5 have really changed the way that marketers approach video, because it's now much more accessible and integratable into your marketing strategy. And so I really think that video is going to be a huge component to how marketers view their strategies and how they go about providing content to their various audiences.
And sales, because now a salesperson, any sales rep can make their own video,
Oh yeah,
give their own video presentation with Loom. We use it actually. It's so easy now.
it's so easy, and even if you don't have a talking head, the audio graph is much more engaging than just reading a text paragraph.
Yeah, it's interesting how quickly the paradigm is changing. So I guess the big lesson for today, Rachel, is know your audience, whether it's your customer or your sales rep that you're serving in your own company. Understanding their journey, understanding what their problems are, is going to help you provide them with a solution that's going to help them make their lives much better in finance and pretty much in life in general, right?
Yes. You need to know who is going to read your feral cat story on the hyper local news channel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Rachel Hassett, thank you so much for coming today. We really enjoyed talking to you.
Pleasure to be here, Alex. Thanks for having me.